Welcome back, team. Today we're going to be reviewing one of my favorite top laners to watch at the moment, who's currently sitting at rank 3 on the Korean solo queue ladder with almost 2000 LP. Now, the reason this guy's just so fun to watch is he pretty much never takes teleport. He goes D-Blade, Ignite, or Exhaustive Barrier. It really depends on the matchup, and almost every single game that he plays. Even if he's up against a Kennen, say he's playing Fiora versus Kennen, he'll run D-Blade, he'll run Ignite, just no hesitation at all, no TP, Darn Shield, playing it slow, anything like that. He just goes all in. So it's a really interesting playstyle to watch. He's very good at exploding the game early game and having maximum impact in his ranked games, and even playing the mid game out without having teleport. So if that sounds good, if you're interested to know how he plays so well without having that crutch of TP, then let's get started. Now, before we get started on the gameplay, we're going to be diving deep on his OPGG and really breaking down his unique champion pool, his itemization, summoner spells, his rune setup, things of that nature. So right now, his main picks are Fiora and Shen, his main blinds, I should say. And you can see even on Shen, never taking TP. So we'll start with Fiora. One thing that I really like that he does differently to most Fioras, where the majority of them, at the moment, grasp, D-Shield, TP, playing for nice 100-0 trades, and scaling really well into the game. He's the complete opposite. You can see PTA Ignite with cookies as well, and just goes full crazy in the early game, even jack of all trades for a little bit of extra power, and he just sends it. You'll see in the gameplay how aggressive he plays in the early game. He's not playing to scale whatsoever, even in matchups like Renekton, where Grasp is typically recommended, and even range top laners, he doesn't take it either. You can see down here into Rumble, he even took Phase Rush, and I really like what he did in this matchup with that rune. So he plays mainly for getting early game advantages and snowballing the game, instead of being very consistent overall, but he does it so well that he's also pretty consistent. Of course, if you play the start, you are going to have bad games. Everyone does. You can see here, and they death them, but he still manages to consistently get leads in the early game, even with these aggressive setups, and he's always finding creative ways like Phase Rush into Rumble or PTA into Renekton to get early game advantages, and it really catches your opponent off guard how much extra threat you have in the early game compared to that slow grass playstyle. Now with Shen, it's pretty similar. He plays pretty aggressive early game with Ignite, playing for early game kills and then spreading his lead around the map. And the more interesting thing in terms of his counter picks are the range top laners. So you can see he has a bunch of them, and Tristana is a range top that I've always heavily rated highly, just because this champion is very safe. You have amazing wave clear, you can base whenever you want, you don't really have mana problems at all, and you're really hard to gank. Your W, your ulti on top of flash, it's very easy for you to survive ganks compared to champions like Varus or even champs like Vayne, who are a lot more vulnerable, and you scale extremely well as well, especially in the late game, where champs like Varus are very broken in lane, but the freest kill of all time. You can see here versus Vibe, he is guaranteed to die 8 times because it's impossible to survive against these two champs. But Tristana, you don't really have that problem, which is why his average deaths are normally lower on him, and the win rate's a bit higher as well. So he normally counterpicks with range tops. There are exceptions, of course, and the times where he goes as their top, you can see even Azir with Ignite is going to be in situations where he needs AP. So here, of course, AD jungle mid, that one's more clear. But if we go down to his other Azir game, solo AP Galio, this isn't really cutting it. So he went for Azir, just so he can have a bit more magic damage in his team. Because playing an AD carry like Tristana with Neferi, Draven, it's just way too much physical damage. So this is a good way to bring the magic damage, but still a lot more survivability than Varus. And even though the early game's not as strong, also very, very good scaling. He's also given Mundo a try here, but that's not really one of his main picks. He normally sticks on these 3 or 4 range top laners, a bit of Smolder as well, for just a more slow playstyle, bit of extra scaling, especially into their comp. It's going to be very slow paced, like a Nivea and Zac, pretty farm heavy game, I'd say, pretty slow pace, so Smolder's going to make sense here, but normally he does play for that early game, Tristana, Varus, stuff like that. Now the interesting thing I would say is the fact that he goes Ignite every single game, and Doran's Blade as well. So there'll be a good example here where he plays Fiora into Rumble, where normally they go D-Shield or Grasp. You can see full aggression with D-Blade. There's another one as well where he also goes D-Blade into, I think it was Jace. So you can see he doesn't really have that play it slow, take short trades playstyle. He's always trying to explode the game. Gragas as well, D-Blade. So of course you have to play a lot better with D-Blade than D-Shield. But you also have more options if you can play that aggressive playstyle in the early game. You can see up against a Jace here, 20 can 2, D-Blade start as well. So never really having that fear of getting trapped in lane with no TP, no Doran Shield, because he has confidence in his own skills. Now, something that I really liked, that I'm going to be trying myself, of course, is his setup on Camille. So normally on Camille, you take TP and Ignite, but you do miss out on some kill opportunities from not having Flash. You can see here, he takes Ignite and Flash every single game on Camille. Now, he hasn't played as much Camille recently, You can see he slowed down a little bit, prefers, I think Shen kind of took her spot a little bit, and after the Shen buffs, but you can see when he was playing Camille, he was still having a bunch of success. He's taking Ignite Flash and snowballing the early game quite consistently. You can see really exploding the game, even on a champion like Camille, where typically you need TP, because you're not the strongest champion lane. He is just against the script, pretty much never looking to run TP on these champions. Moving on to the laning phase, and we're going to be reviewing a bunch of different matchups and champions that he likes to play, but we're going to be starting with his most played, and that is Fiora. Now, one thing that I really like from this player is the way he plays these really difficult counter matchups. So Fiora is his main blind, and he runs into matchups like Rumble, matchups like Renekton, which are common counters to Fiora, but he plays them extremely well. Where in this matchup, most Fioras will go D-Shield, TP, second win, you know, all that stuff, and Grasp, and try to take short trades, play for Ravenous Hydra, or play for ganks, and try not to get too far behind early game. But you can see his mindset is the complete opposite. D-Blade, Ignite, Biscuits, just full aggression with Scorch as well, and he's going to be playing for an early game advantage. I really like the way he utilizes Phase Rush as well. You'll see why very shortly. So in this game, you just make sure he got level 2 before the Rumble, and just hard crash wave 2. To make wave 3 bounce back, you can see 12 out of 12 CS as well, and goes for a little trade onto him with parry. So Fogs down, gets a ward in the bush, because he knows he's going to start to play aggressive soon when he lets the wave bounce back in, but he's still going to be taking short trades with his Q and proccing that Scorch. So you can see here, he's trying to let the wave come back in, but not too big of an advantage. Of course, he doesn't want Rumble to have 5 minions versus 2, you know, 5 minions versus 0, anything like that. So he's trying to trim the wave as much as he can without breaking the wave bouncing back. And now he's level 3, he's going to let the wave come back in, and this is where he starts his trades. So you can see he picks up this minion, waits for the Rumble's W to proc out, and then W's the Rumble's E, procs his Phase Rush, and he's able to get the Rumble's Flash by popping Phase Rush and Ignite onto him. So if we go back to this trade, you can see really shortly. So Rumble has to go on ward, we'll put on Fiora's Vision here, drops the ward, notices that Rumble utilizes W to keep his heat up, so punishes when that shield's on cooldown, also parry slides to block the Rumble E. And then normally Rumble will space you out. If you've got Grasp right now and you 10k Rumble E, you're going to get stuck here. You won't be able to get the top vital, and there's no real way to continue this trade onto him. But you can see with Nimbus Cloak and with Phase Rush, he's able to boost up to top vital, get the bottom vital as well, and burns the Rumble's Flash already, and chunks him to low HP with the wave in a really good position here. So Rumble is pretty much screwed. His jungler is going down, he's stuck here yet again using W to get the heat up, flashes over the Rumble missile, and picks up a nice kill there. So you can see there's the difference between that short trade Grasp TP playstyle, you know, playing it more reserved, and just maximizing your aggression with the setup, flashing over the rocket as well. So that combined with really good mechanics allows him to win this really difficult counter lane. Moving on to our second matchup, he's playing up against a Renekton. Renekton's also a former LCK player, so we're going to be seeing how he plays it down. So one thing I really liked is this level 1 plan. So you can see PTA Ignite D-Blade, so full aggression yet again. But what I really like here is the first Vital will always spawn here on the left. So you can see he's running at him. The Renekton doesn't want to give Vital for free, so he's running away, and this gives him space to hit the wave a lot. You can see he uses Q on the wave here. He is trying to guarantee Prio before Renekton can walk up and commit Qs on the wave. He's trying to make sure he gets Prio no matter what, and has a minion wave advantage as well. Just like we talked about before versus Rumble, when he was over trimming to not give Rumble a wave advantage, he's hitting the wave a lot to give himself that, so he can take trades freely onto Renekton. So 1 Q to pop the bone plating there, and now he's going to be going for the trade. So you can see autoing early before his Q even comes back up to get the first stack of press the attack, and just before it drops off, he goes for the second one just out of his Q range there, but he had the right idea. So then he goes for the pressy attack proc here, manages to get it, and gets the vital as well. So not afraid to trade HP and make it dirty, of course, because look how big his minion advantage is. So he's going to get level 2 with a really big gap in minions over Renekton, so there's no real way he can contest the push here. So he gets level 2, he sees Renekton stun to respect, so goes for a trade here, just miscalculates here, the angle of Q again. So he does make a few mistakes, of course, not mechanically perfect, nobody is, but you can see his early game plan, a fast 2-wave crash consistently, and then making wave 3 come back towards him. As long as you crash wave 2 very decisively, like he's been doing 2 games in a row, it'll come back to here, you can continue to trade. So hits the wave right away, try not to give Renekton a big level 3 advantage, so you can see 1 minion off, gets his level 3 and goes for this trade. So auto EQ just to proc the pressy attack and clicks away, doesn't greed that extra auto attack as it would give Renekton access to full combo him, so just spacing him out there. And then he backs off here, trying not to give Renekton a trade opportunity while his spells are down. So playing respectful, also dropping the vital. You can see here, there's a vital on the right, really uncomfortable for him. So he runs all the way to the left to drop it and get a left bot vital again. So it doesn't leave the bush right away. He just want to proc his vital now. This is a hard time to trade. And now he goes. So exits the bush, goes for the trade here, Q into W, W's the Renekton's Q. Spaces out here, Q's onto the side here. The Rengar was coming up, but you can see here it was a solid kill anyway. Already had the kill. If Renekton flashed here, Fiora would have just flash followed, so a guaranteed kill regardless. So if we see how he played this off, first of all, he got the left vital so that he can proc and get a bit of extra damage onto him. W's the Renekton Q to block that damage as well. And then even though Renekton's getting level 4 advantage, because he's not a Grasp TP Fiora of D Shield, D Blade Ignite buffers the Q through the Renekton stun as well. He's able to get a favorable situation here onto him. So you can just see the way he uses this aggressive setup is not just trying to punish his opponent, it's also good defense as well, because he has so much threat that Renekton can't just play that aggressive without getting punished, and even though his jungler was in the area, it was a guaranteed kill regardless. And for our final Fiora matchup, he's playing up against a Shen. Of course, Shen in a really good spot at the moment after all those buffs, and this Shen is also matching the Ignite. Now, granted, the Shen's not as confident as our Fiora player here, as he's got Ignite TP, not Ignite Flash. We'll see how he plays it out. So he goes for the first Q, to go for the Vital, and fish for Bone Plating as well. And here we can see he's got Phase Rush set up even into Shen, so it's going to be interesting to see how he plays that one out. So trims the wave here, you can see always hitting the wave during this downtime, while he's waiting for the Vital to reposition, and then goes for a long range Q here. You can see Q auto clicks backwards, just trying to poke down the Shen. So moves his character to the side, so if Shen walks up to a minion, he's always fishing for the bottom Q here, making it really hard for Shen to walk up. You can see if Shen goes for this minion, he's fishing for a parry here, but doesn't want to get taunted after parrying, so he goes for a Q, clicks backwards. You can see the timing of the Q as well, is just as Shen is going for a minion, so Shen is either going to auto-attack the creep, or auto-attack the Fiora and miss the minion. Either way, it's a good play here. So you can see, as Shen's going for the minion here, he has to choose between Fiora and the creep, so Fiora got a free auto-attack onto him. So playing it slowly here, you can see he's going to go for a long-range Q as well. So those long-range poking Qs that are probably one of the hardest parts of Fiora laning, really good by him, and Shen just rips a taunt onto him, and so where we can see the Phase Rush activate. So it goes for the W, procs Phase Rush, and he's able to pop the Ignite as well, and just easily pick up a kill. So all those nice little short trades in the early game, being able to poke down that Shen, and then when Shen does go onto you, normally Shen, of course, Shen's trade pattern, taunt onto you, beat you up, and disengage the trade, but with the Phase Rush, Fiora can just stick onto him and keep that trade going, making it really hard for the Shen to disengage it. Moving on to his Shen, and even though he's only added Shen to his champ pool recently, this was probably one of the best Shen performances I've ever seen in the early lane, and you'll see why. Apart from the leashing, of course, don't try that at home, so up into Renekton, Shen does win the early lane, around level 6 is where it starts to fall apart, so we're going to be seeing how he plays this off. So as for his setup, you can see Shield Bash Ignite, full aggression with cookies and approach velocity as well. So level 1, you can see he's going to be trying to fish for a trade with his Q. So he gets the Q onto Renekton, but not able to get the range for his Q. So yet again, rushing into his level 2. So he gets level 2, goes for the taunt, 1 auto before he Qs, gets the 3 autos. You can see he's spacing as well, and trying to pull Renekton down to here, so that if Renekton tries to retrade on his level 2, he's going to be in direct path of his sword, so he can get another Q trade onto him. So good movement there, and now he's just going to be playing it a little bit slowly, goes for the Q pull onto him, and then gets his 3 hits. So really, really good movement and spacing by him here. So taunt coming back up yet again, so if Renekton ever gives him range for that, he's going to go. So just in case Pantheon does a 3 camp gank, towards the tri-bush as well. So slow pushing this wave, making it really uncomfortable for Renekton to ever walk up and stack Fury, and then goes for a taunt flash here. So the reason he's taunt flashing here, even though it's not a kill, is to chunk Renekton and burn his flash as well, so that the future sequence is going to be a lot promising for him and easier to tower dive. So E flash, pulls the Q as well, pops up the W just in case Renekton buffered stun, and able to get a good trade there. So you can see this Q auto attack as well, juggling that tower aggro perfectly. So for those of you who don't know, if you hit your opponent just as the tower shoots a minion, that is the optimal timing, because the tower still has to reload. So you can see here, he's timing his auto attack animation just now as the tower shots are leaving. So it still has to reload, even though it's locked onto him, it can't shoot right away. So he gets an auto attack for free. And now you can see as well, hits this minion, pulls it back out to the center. So instead of wave 2 being around here, he pulls it all the way back here, making it really, really hard for Renekton to approach the wave at all without getting taunted and killed. So you can see here the way he's playing it, pulls the sword through him, goes for the taunt, good dodge by Renekton here. And able to space out Renekton's W, puts up his W just in time to block the Renekton stun, and then bashes his head down. So you can see lots of little things went into this matchup, and he just did all of them so well that I would say there's not a single mistake that he made in this early matchup, and for a champion that he only has around 60 games on, I was really impressed by this one. And for our final matchup, we're going to be watching him play his best range top laner Tristana up against a Vladimir. So a range v range matchup, a lot less one-sided than range vs melee. So if you're curious about the runes, you can see PTA with Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace. and then unflinching and conditioning. So conditioning, a little bit greedy there, but he makes it work. And you can see he takes over the second bush level 1 to make Vladimir ward it, and then utilizes the third bush here. So he starts Q to proc press the attack instead of E, because E, your attack speed's too slow, it's really hard to do so. So he's always going for this PTA proc. You can see 1 back into the bush, dropping that minion aggro as much as he can. So you can see in and out of the bush every time he gets a last hit, goes for it, clicks up here, so Vladimir can't Q him from leaving here. And then when he goes for the trade, you can see he leads from below here. So 1, 2, 3 with his Q to get the pressy attack proc, and then extends the trade a little bit because Vladimir's ability is very telegraphed. You know the cooldown right here. As long as you end the trade before his Q2 comes up, exactly what he did here, you're going to win that trade. And he knows Vladimir used his ward already, so he doesn't have to worry about him warding that bush. So W's in just for a single auto attack here. So really maintaining that aggression. And yet again, another clean 2-wave crash. So you can see he doesn't really ever find himself in that situation where his wave is really ugly and stuck here. He's always decisively crashing a wave to make sure that never happens, and then he can pull out the next wave like this. So he goes for level 3, jumps directly onto Vladimir's head here, burns a Vladimir pull, and then here, instead of greeting this one auto attack and letting Vladimir Q2 him, he clicks backwards. You'd be surprised how many players I see make this mistake where they give Vladimir a Q2. You should be playing around that at all costs and never give him that enhanced Q onto you. So you can see there, even that little auto attack cancel will slow it down a little bit to space out the Vlad. So as Vladimir's Q's coming up, very telegraphed, so you can see the fake auto into click backwards to make Vladimir click forward, and then as Vladimir clicks away to not tank the minion aggro, he gets an auto attack of his own, and Vladimir doesn't get the Q onto the Triss. So really nice tiny micro details there that makes him work so well on these ranged top lane champs that typically don't have much room for error. So you can see just slowly pushing this wave in, looking for his opportunity to strike, probably going to play off his level 4 if I had to guess. So you can see he goes for the E, gets level 4, waits out the Vladimir Q2, and then has to respect jungle. Of course, if you're a ranged top, you're going to get ganked, but because he's Tristana, he's going to be unkillable here. It was pretty good by the Viego to chunk him down, because now he does have to respect the Vlad, being able to flash onto him, so he does have to base him, and just picks up longsword, tier 1 boots, and runs straight back to lane. So Vladimir did get bailed out there from Viego, but he's still going to be fine, and Vlad runs straight back to lane with his Fiendish Codex here. So he does have an item advantage, but because he has Ignite versus TP, of course, if he took a thing or two from this guy's book and took Ignite as well, he might have more of an opportunity to strike. So you can see level 5 goes for the auto attacks and clicks backwards because he doesn't have a ward, so there's no point face checking that and taking Vladimir's combo. Better to take the damage for free. So spacing out the Vladimir E and the Vladimir Q as well. You can see these little micro steps to try bait Vladimir to use his E. Right here, clicks towards him and clicks backwards, fake auto attacking every time, not committing the auto. If he auto attacks him there, his character stops for too long, to the point where Vladimir can E and Q2 and get annihilated in that trade. So he does a fake out to bait Vladimir's E and waste his Q as well, and then he can go back in. Clears the entire wave, spaces out the Vladimir Q2, yet again just playing right on the edge of that range, spaces out the E as well, and then procs his pressy attack here. Almost. So starts to poke down the tower a little bit, auto attack Vladimir whenever he walks up, and W's out because there his spacing was a little bit off, so he would have got hit by the Vladimir Q2, so he had to commit a W there. So really good awareness of his spacing there, and then runs up when Vladimir doesn't have Q2, and goes for a more extended trade. So you can see here, just pops Q, just keeps shooting him down, wants to get him as low as possible for his level 6 all in, and then starts to poke down the tower. You can see if Vladimir's playing too respectful, he'll hit tower, but if Vladimir walks up to farm, he'll always prioritize the hit onto the Vlad here. He gets another auto attack there, procs the E, and then here he didn't want to give Vladimir this free opportunity to base in TP, so he tried to hard push the wave, but of course Vladimir can still do it on a cannon wave, so I'd say that Vladimir is also playing quite well on this lane. But you can see here it's not really going to matter very shortly. So he goes for the trade, goes and collects his fruit, thinks about recalling but decides against it, and now is where the magic happens. So jumps in, burns Ignite just to chunk the Vladimir, so E and Ignite gets him low, very similar to before on Shen, where he burned Flash, just to burn the Renekton's Flash and chunk him, to make the future sequence better. Same thing here to burn the Vladimir's pull, and now you can see we're just weaving an auto attack from the tower, spacing out the Vlad Q2, fakes it out, clicks backwards, the second Vlad Q's a minion, he goes, and his combo here was really nice. Really shortly, you can see 2 autos to proc press the attack, and then E, ulti, flash, auto, 1 extra auto to follow, and then picks up the kill. Vladimir panics a little bit, flash ulti trying to get the healing, but he still picks it up. So we're going to go back to this combo and slow it down. You can see his Tristana mastery is extremely high. So flash, so E, flash, ulti, weaves in an auto attack just before the ulti pushes him out of the range. he's able to finish off the kill with his E here. So even though Vladimir flashes and tries to heal, it's not going to be enough. So I'd say the most impressive thing by far for his Tristana is not even that combo. It's of course the spacing. He didn't give Vladimir a single Q2 opportunity. He baited Vladimir to step forward and take minion aggro or step forward and waste E so many different times, and he pretty much never made the mistake of fail spacing. The one time he did, he caught himself in the moment and W'd away to not give Vladimir the Q2, and it really paid off even in this game where he did get ganked and forced to recall. He's still able to pick up a really nice solo kill. So we're going to be wrapping up our review by going through an example of his mid game on a champion without taking TP, where I wanted to pick Fiora because of course on Shin you pretty much do have TP with your ulti, and on champs like Tristana or Azir it's a lot more clear, you can just kind of push and group up. On Fiora you mainly want to be playing side lane on average, so we're going to be seeing how he plays the mid game without the access to TPing in when his team needs him. So we can see at this point, he's doing well, his jungle's doing fine, mid's doing good, and bot lane's feeding. So the solo Q special, always bot has to feed. So he's going to be looking to chip away at this tower. So goes in and just brute forces it, pops ulti onto this guy, and picks up a kill with his jungler. So I would say, the way you play the mid game on a champ with Fiora with Ignite compared to TP, it doesn't really change that much, apart from the fact that you have to brute force group a lot more often. So you need to be really good at reading when you have to group and when you don't need to, because if you don't have TP, you don't really have access to that get out of jail free card. So you can see he pushes in top and goes for a play here and goes onto this MF here. So I really liked how he played this the whole time. He's holding on to parry, not trying to rush it at all. The Nautilus flashes onto him and he still keeps a cool head and doesn't use his parry until just as Nautilus auto attacks, he reacts to the parry, picks up a stun onto MF. So perfectly played skirmish there. And of course Nautilus not enough damage, so you can just keep life stealing off of him and gets a kill for his AD carry as well, even picking up the mid tower. Where one thing I really liked is I guarantee probably 90%, 99% of Fiora players after killing this Renekton and seeing that they have about 200 mana, would recall here. But you can see he sees the opportunity. If we put it on his vision, he sees they're coming in and contesting Herald, goes for a deep flank here, holding onto his Q mana the whole time, and he was in the right place at the right time because he saw this fight happening ahead of the curve, based purely from the body language of the enemy team. So not just mechanically played excellently, but also the fact that he knew this fight would happen before it did, based purely from the body language of the Nautilus hitting the scrying bloom, stuff like that, via in the area. He just knew a fight would happen. So that's how you have to utilize not having TP. You need to be able to read the map and be at the fight on time. So we can see after killing Renekton yet again, pushing in top and basing now to pick up his Triforce. Of course, the second you have that Ardent Spike, you want to base as soon as you can. He's got the blue trinket as well. Really good on split pushing champs like Fiora. And now heading onto the map, there's nothing really to do. So just going to be power farming. So this is the weakness of having Ignite. Right now, Ari pushed in top on this timer. Ari is TP, and he can't really be at this play. And you're just going to have to accept that that's going to be a possibility. There are going to be plays that you can't be involved in. So right now, his team getting killed mid, there's nothing he could have really done about it. He just based on the previous sequence to get his Triforce, he had down to the top wave, and his team died here. The only thing you can really do is read the Ari's ganking, backping them, stuff like that. But other than that, there's not anything else you can do, and that's going to be okay as long as you get a lead in the early game and make up for it later on. So this was a mistake here. He felt the need to kind of overcompensate a little bit. When your bot lane dies like this, it's better just to sacrifice this play, push out the waves, wait for them to respawn, wait for them to come onto the map, and then look to carry the next play more often than not. Of course, there are exceptions to that rule, but here when they have TPs available, this is just not worth going for. So even though he does get a couple of kills, it's not really worth him flashing and getting killed here. So make sure if you are in this situation where your team gets caught, don't panic, just maintain your prio and look to carry the future sequence. So we can see here, it will speed ahead till he respawns, straight onto the map here. So instead of going top here, what you could normally do if you had TP, Dragon is up really shortly, Artican is up really shortly as well. He has to be down here. There's a really high chance the fight happens and he doesn't have time to push top all the way to here and make it up. So you just have to brute force group in this situation. So helps his jungler with Dragon, nice guy, takes over the jungle here and kills them as they walk in. So you can see being able to read if a fight will happen ahead of time, it's a combination of the body language, but also the next spawning objective. If Dragon and Artican is spawning at the same time, there's a 90% chance, probably even higher than that, that a fight is going to break out. So you can be there ahead of time and make sure you don't miss a situation where you're pushing top and your team takes a fight without you, because that's going to be a game losing situation. Where if he came to this objective and no fight happens, he's not going to lose anything. He's just going to lose some top farm. So it's better to take that risk, especially a calculated one where 2 objectives are up, or even just Artican is very likely, than to risk your team dying. So they get the Artican here, and pretty sure this fight went badly, just a bit of an overstay. So you can see he's not going to ever back out of a fight. He's really keen to fight it out. So here is another mistake as well. He should just sacrifice his teammates, accepted the Artican and recalled. But, you know, it's going to be fine more often than not, because he's so far ahead that a lot of these plays can work. We skip ahead a little bit. Next objective spawning is going to be Baron and Dragon. So looks to push our bottom here, tries to pull people away from Baron here. And again, the body language, he starts to fog up, queues over the wall, wants to be a part of these fights. The thing about Fiora is even though you are a split pushing champion who mainly spikes for team fights of 3 items, if you play your early game well, like you did up against this Renekton, the VOD we saw, and you get accelerated, you can still team fight, it's not really a problem. So here pushes them bottom, trying to make people respond to him, pulls down the Renekton, power farming camps as well. So you can see even though he does group at pretty much every objective fight, still at really high CS, just 40 behind the clock, with considering it's 3 deaths as well, not bad whatsoever. So he goes for the Renekton, just takes the ulti and clicks away, so good discipline there. And he sees his bot lane gets caught out yet again, so just commits to the bot tier 2. Breaks the tower, pushes in the wave, bases, he knows somebody's going to answer, it's very unlikely, they give him bot in it for free, and right on schedule Renekton shows up, and now he's got his 3 item spike with Death Stance, so he's going to be really strong in an upcoming team fight. So pushes in the wave, fogs down here, and now he's pretty much full build. So this is where you don't need to be panicked and just power farming the whole game. 3 items on Fiora, you're extremely strong at this point in the game, so it's better for him to be here and try to play for an opportunity than to go bottom, as he's probably 3k gold away from his next item. It's better for him to look for a play right now just as he's spiked. So you can see DMF basing here, and he actually goes for this play, flashes onto him, pops the ulti, and goes for a quick vital combo, one-shots to them, and right now he's still got parry up, so he's playing right in their faces, really confident in his skills to be able to parry a VIQ from 1 step away. So really, really high confidence here. Pops a little Q onto Nolus as well. So you have to play this way, you have to build that mastery on Fiora if you want to make this champ work. You cannot play that passive style. So you can see rocks up here early, gets full control for his team, gets a pick around mid, and able to secure objectives. Here their Baron's a little bit slow, so they decided against it. To be honest, Baron was the best play here, objectively, because they have to fire you or you get Baron, and if they fire you, it's a 5v3, but they decided to go for the more safe play. So I'll wrap up this review for now. You can see the main takeaways for the mid game is if you do want to play this no TP style, not only do you need to get good at being able to play your lane well and not be in situations where you get stuck in lane without your TP, or even worse than that, lose lane with Ignite, you need to be able to play the mid game in a way where you're reading the map, you're reading the body language of the enemy team, or predicting that there'll be a fight near upcoming objectives, and make sure you're there ahead of time. Because you don't want to be in a situation where you're stuck in side lane and your team gets caught out again and again. That's going to lose you the game even if you do get fed in lane. Alright everyone, let's wrap it up for today. But there is one final point I want to touch on before we end the video, and that is, what is the main learning here? What should we be learning from watching this guy play? And in my opinion, it should definitely not be let's full send it, PTA ignite every game, let's go baby. The main takeaway should be, don't be afraid to branch out of your comfort zone a little bit and run more aggressive setups, especially in volatile situations. So myself personally, I love to run ignite and flash on Olaf into matchups like Renekton, matchups like Darius, even though Olaf typically always runs Ghost, and you can be doing the same thing. You can run Ignite Flash on Camille like we saw him do, you can run Ignite on Renekton or Aatrox into certain matchups. Don't be afraid to run more aggressive setups and runes in volatile situations and play for these early game advantages and try to make yourself a more impactful player overall.